Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Lindsay Artkin. I'm the president of the NHL Coaches Association. For those not familiar with the NHLCA, we represent all of the coaches in the NHL and AHL and support them day to day in everything from hockey operations. But beyond that, one of our main objectives as an association is to help support the development of all hockey coaches at all levels of the game. To that point, we launched the NHLCA Mentorship Program back in February of 2010, and we're excited to now be back for the third season of the program about halfway through. During the first two seasons, we had over 50 webinars from our NHL and AHL coaches, as well as some special guest presenters. So if you haven't already caught those sessions, we encourage you to explore the archive of webinars online within the Mentorship Program portal. Before we get started today, I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge that this program wouldn't be possible without the tremendous support of all of our NHL and AHL coaches, and wanted to thank them collectively for their time and support of this important initiative. Okay, so let's get going. Today we are joined by Trent Hull, head coach of the Abbotsford Canucks of the American Hockey League, who's presenting on the topic of neutral zone forecheck. Following 10 seasons of playing professional hockey, including 435 regular season games in the AHL, Trent took up coaching to work as an assistant coach with the Syracuse Crunch from 2006 to 2010. He then accepted a head coaching position in the Ontario Hockey League with the Sudbury Wolves, where he remained for 3 seasons before returning to Syracuse as an assistant coach for the 2013-14 season. 3 years later, in 2017, he was named head coach of the Utica Comets by their NHL affiliate, the Vancouver Canucks. He remained with the AHL team when it relocated as the Abbotsford Canucks in early 2021. So Trent, thank you so much for taking the time to lead this session for us. I will now turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate it. They asked me to do a coaching clinic, and I was going to actually try to start one with moving a team across the country from one side to the other and then moving to a different country on top of that. But I didn't think that was going to be something that anyone would really find appropriate, and hopefully they never have to do in their coaching careers anyway. So, but very happy to be in Abbotsford. February is beautiful in Abbotsford. It's no snow, so I'm getting used to that. That's pretty nice. And I'm actually taping this in Toronto on the road, so we're on a little bit of a road trip here, but very nice of Lindsay. She did a very nice intro of me, but just so what we're going to do is pretty much just talk about some forechecks and kind of a little bit self-serving in the coach's role. What I wanted to do is try to do some neutral zone forechecks of the teams that I see the most now that I'm in the Pacific division, and that's where we're coaching. And so what you'll see is this is Tucson, this is Ontario, and this is Bakersfield. And so I'm just going to walk you through 3 different neutral zone forechecks that each one of these teams does, but then also it's the same neutral zone forecheck that the NHL team does as well. So I'm sure they're probably doing that for the continuity of having their players being called up. And so it's easier for them to transition from one system to the next. And they've got enough on their plate going to the NHL and what they have in their heads. So it's nice for them to have the same things that they're focused on. So, okay. So the difference being, and you'll just see as I showed you here, we've got the Tucson, we've got Arizona, we've got Ontario, we've got LA, and we've got Bakersfield here. And so there's 3 different neutral zone forechecks. And what you're going to see with that is we'll start off with Arizona and Tucson, and it's just a 1-1-3. And again, for me, I thought it was good for us this is what we see in the American League. And how can I, kind of dig in, being honest, like I said, self-serving. I wanted to see a little bit about these teams and what other teams in our division were doing versus these teams and how they were being effective with it. So, you know how it is in coaching. You're always trying to, steal from somebody else, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So, okay, jumping into the 1-1-3 forecheck. So pretty much what you're going to see, and hopefully you can see my illustrations as I get on there, but F1, and what I've learned watching this 1-1-3 is that this guy is actually more aggressive than I thought originally. And I always thought it was a little bit more passive with the 1-1-3, but it's not. I mean, this guy is getting up, he's splitting and pushing, and he's going pretty hard a lot of the times to kind of try to predict one side of the ice or the other for the opposition. F2 is kind of holding the line here, and he's kind of making that red line his goal. And then you can see back here, they've got their line of 3 guys. It's pretty aggressive here at the blue line. So the pros, and this isn't me being critical or positive or super, it's just that what I saw watching it is that 3 across the blue line, it's tough to penetrate for the opposition to get in there because everybody wants an analytical controlled carry into the zone. They know what that means nowadays about what that can increase and how it can increase your offense. So, but it's tough to do versus the 1-1-3. And also too, the 3 players are back there all the time. So those guys are easier back, good support for pucks breaking out. And that's kind of what you'll want to make sure you have close support on the breakouts. Cons are transition. So you have 2 forwards. You can imagine here, if they turn the puck over down the ice somewhere in this area here, you've got 1 forward down here. Well, you got to get your second forward up, and you got 3 players back here. So you don't have a lot of puck support if you were to turn the puck over in the O zone. And then lastly, and I said I might be changing my mind on this, but I thought it was like at first it was like maybe a bit of a back off mindset, and that's not necessarily the case. So the more I kind of dug into this one, and the more I watched, so just showing some clips. And we'll start here with this one. We'll start with the Arizona, and they're going to be in white here. We'll start with quite a few of their clips, and we'll show you a couple of Tucson's as we get going here with it. So here's one. So you can see how far down he is. He's down here. He's pressuring, trying to split the ice in half for the most part. And then from there, he returns on a reattack. And you can see Colorado here has got a lot of jerseys back, but they're coming up. And here's this 2. So he's in the middle of the ice, kind of holding that red line, just like the diagram. So as 1 is splitting and pushing and coming back, it's 2's responsibility to be aggressive on both sides here of the red line and try to make them make plays. So you can see he gets over here, gets onto this puck, doesn't work out. They go back. He ends up replacing now his F1, and the 1 who is here is now coming back in the middle. So now he takes over F1's role. He takes over F2's role back and behind. So now you can see, sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but here's now F2 holding the middle. Puck comes right to him. A line of 3 is behind him. They get the puck and they start transitioning the other way. Okay. Looking at the dark colored jerseys now in this one. So getting up now, F1 is here, splitting and pushing. He doesn't get it done. So now he doesn't cut himself back because he'll be underneath. So he reloads back up through the middle of the ice. Now as the camera catches up, now you can see 2 who's in the middle. He'll start to now proceed. You can see he's the one whose his job is to try to get here, hold that red line for the group. 1's coming back through with speed. And I thought this was just a good illustration of looking at, you can see your defenseman back here in this line of the 3, and this is always their forward on this side. So they get back into transition. Okay, now we're looking at the maroon or the wine colored jersey. So 1 is going, good job, splits and pushes. And this is one thing that's unique with this, the 1-1-3, is that they can have their line of 3 guys. This is actually their F3 who's back in this lane, but he's all the way up here now. So he's attacking where this puck goes, continues on. 1 goes back here. 3 realizes, or he puts his hand back up. I'm going to get back into my lane. And here's 2 again, back through the middle. He's pushing across, being aggressive. So they don't interchange with 3. Once that guy is locked into this lane, F3 stays there, unlike what we saw before with 1 and 2. But those guys will hold those lanes, and then they're getting back onto those pucks. Okay, again, maroon jersey. So you can see a little bit of a turnover here, and all of a sudden they're going. Again, he continues himself above the puck. 2 is now engaged, coming back through. 1 is returning into 2 spot. And now you can see the line of 3 here kind of getting across the line here to make sure that those guys are holding that blue line. I'll show that in a little bit, just how aggressive they can be. But it's also, too, a really good look just right here. You've got a 4-on-1 coming back to break out pucks. And I think that's what also makes this forecheck pretty effective, too, because you want to have that close puck support in and around the puck. Okay, looking at the black jerseys now. You can see 1 gets up. 2 is in the middle there, gets a little bit off to the one side, but just shows here too that this 3rd forward, he's aggressive. He's trying to stand up beyond the blue. They don't want to give up that line for free. Like we said, it's not easy to get in there with puck possession. So they do a good job, transition over and hold that line. Here, sorry, watching the white jerseys now. So puck is going back. Here you can see 1 pursuing, makes the play. 2 is now up a little bit deeper. So this could be off of Prescott, what they're doing. You can see now the defenseman is all the way up here at the red line. They're bringing 4 guys back. And now you can see an F3 being really aggressive, almost up to the red line here to hold that line. So one thing that these guys, I think, too, as they do their pre-scouts, and obviously they're pretty good at what they do, but now they can move that line of 3 guys up and back. So sometimes they're holding the blue and sometimes they can be aggressive and hold the red. This one here, again, we're looking at the white jerseys. Holds, gets up. And again, just a great illustration of, look at those 4 guys are back in the screen right now to break out pucks. So difficult for the other team to set up their forecheck when there's only 1 guy getting down there for a little bit of pursuit and they've already got 4 guys back. And this is just to kind of, you'll see a better view here as it starts, but I'm just showing you, I guess it makes it easier, I would say, for the team that's coaching this for sure, is that a lot of times I call this a controlled breakout system. So their defenseman's behind the net and he's in control here. You can see he has it. Here's F1. So sometimes you have a different forecheck for your controlled forecheck versus a controlled breakout. And now as the camera changes angles here, you can see the 1, here's 2 is up, but they're still in their 1-1-3. They can bring their guys up deeper, hold the line still, but it's just a good look that makes it easier. They're doing their 1-1-3 in a controlled forecheck and or neutral zone forecheck. So it makes things very easy for their players or players getting called up. And this is just, every time I do one of these things, I try to look at some breakers. So things that are effective versus a 1-1-3. So Philly has the puck. Again, we're looking at, there's the wine colored team is Arizona, but they come back, and I find this unique as opposed to a D to D and a hinge. So in other words, the defenseman comes in really deep underneath and he pursues up and he can go back. I call this the D to D jump. So when this player passes at D to D, he takes off immediately. So now you can see they're set up with 1, you can see 2, now 3 is getting into his lane. But because as soon as he passes, he takes off with Philly. He gets himself up. He finds a seam in there right away. So they're almost trapping 1. 2 can't get to that line in time here. So now all of a sudden you can see Philly swung off. They have a ton of speed going through the neutral zone here. And the 2 can't catch up, and they're a little bit hesitant now standing up on the line. So they get a controlled entry, which is pretty good for them. So that's why I try to throw something different in there. Okay, here's Tucson. So that's the maroon colored jersey here and here. So you can just see sometimes at the American League level, we don't have the same capabilities video wise, camera wise. So you can see sometimes you have a better video look. So now you can see the 1 and the 2. And just a good job of their guys getting up, and just wanted to illustrate, like, look where their players are. They're holding the red here. We saw some ones in the NHL where they're more holding the blue, but these guys are all the way inside the red, working their way back, and a really good job by 1 and 2 through the neutral zone. Here's Tucson again as the white team here, playing San Diego in the retro blue here. So good job with 1. 2's in the middle, as we've seen, pretty consistent. And again, really aggressive, getting up, holding that line, and then they can get onto those pucks. And you can see too, off these turnovers, there's 2 players that are together from the opposition, but again, there's 4 there on defense. So it's good for those guys that have good close puck support when they're breaking those pucks. Okay, almost done here with these guys. 1 goes in, gets himself back in. 2 is now proceeding. 1's filling back in. Again, you can see the line of 3, really aggressive, holding up on that red, and then going back on these transitions, getting onto these pucks. 1 here deep, 2 is up. And again, I just think it's a really good job with these guys. Obviously, I think Iowa was a team, Minnesota's farm team, they're bringing 5 players back to try to counteract the 1-1-3. But in turn, you can see now the Tucson's done a really good job of getting their line all the way up inside the red and then creating the turnover almost at the opposition's blue line. So pretty good look there of that 1-1-3 kind of look. Okay, moving on. So now we're going to hit the Ontario Reign and LA Kings. So what we've noticed with these guys, and we didn't see it right away at the start of the year, me or my staff, and then all of a sudden the second time we played them, we noticed that they were doing the 1-3-1 through the neutral zone. So just talking about some pros and cons with that. Conserves energy. 1's not near as aggressive as the 1-1-3 that we just looked at. So he's kind of more in his spot and kind of holds. And the same thing with their second line of 3 guys in the middle. They're pretty consistent on where they are, and I'll show you with that. And then the one thing about that is it conserves the energy, but 1D is always back getting the puck. He's kind of got a head start getting back to break out those plays. And it's really tough to get inside the line. Again, tough to penetrate that blue line when those 4 guys are all kind of back in those spots. For me, I said the cons. I've never personally coached this yet, so so it's a little bit of a guess from what I saw. I imagine it would take some time to set up. Just getting your group doing it well and being efficient at it. There is a back off mentality. I mean, you saw it back with Tampa and playoffs. They had some success with it years ago when Guy Boucher was coaching them. but there is that, you are backing off. You can get a goal early. It'd be very effective, obviously. So, and I think it would take some time to instill, take some time to coach this. I think it's probably a lot of players aren't familiar with this. So that would be the one that would take some time, I guess, to make sure guys are set up with it. Okay, so we're looking at the white team here. So this is their one. You'll see there are 3 guys here starting to roll back into position. So they're giving up space. They're fine with that. They know, go ahead, take your time, do whatever you need to do. And here you can see one is here. One thing that is unique with Ontario, I'm not sure if LA does the same. We'll see it, I think, in the same, but their defenseman is back here. So that's their left defenseman. They have their second forward here, third forward, or vice versa here at the line. And they have the right defenseman who's the guy back. You don't even see him in the picture here. You can see as they're breaking out, they got 2 stretch players. And then there's their defenseman going back for the puck. So the great thing about it is you're getting to a puck, but you got a pretty nice space cushion here to be able to get back, make a play before the opposition even gets to you. Here's one again. You can see a little bit of time to set up, but they get rolling here. Their forward rolls right into the middle. D actually works himself back up in to have a good gap, and they're trying to be aggressive here. 1 is coming back in for support. 2 shifting across. You can see this wide forward is coming back in the lane, and there you can see that defenseman's ready to go back for any pucks if anything's being chipped in there. So here again, you can see it like this. I'm just going to back this up. I want to put this in just because it's a change. And just watching Ontario come out just right off of the bench. They know the situation. They know who's going out. You can see we're on the opposite side now. So you know where the defenseman is. You know where the forwards are lining up. That defenseman gets over there. He's still holding the line. They turn it over here. And again, you can see these guys are pretty close support and around that puck in the neutral zone to start breaking out pucks from there. Okay. Again, they're allowing space. They're not in a rush. Even with the other team bringing players back for speed, they're holding their ground. Really seeing the aggressiveness of the defenseman. You can see he's here. He's actually moving north, going into the guy at the red line, trying to create that turnover. So it's a good look for Ontario. Now we're jumping to LA. So a little bit better camera maybe here for us, but white team, you can see, just wanted to show you how we're setting it up. So a chip comes out in the neutral zone. So 1 is still pursuing here pretty hard as I was watching. And then if he doesn't like it, he just rolls himself back off. But this next layer, those are the guys who I find that they're fairly passive. They get themselves off, being aggressive, being on top of the other team's opposition to not give them those controlled entries. And you can see, again, this player going back has a bit of a head start going for those pucks. Looking at the silver helmets, white jersey, so pursuing out. Very passive, very passive. You can see the other getting up, holding lines. Again, the 3 are here. This defenseman, sometimes he's right even at the top of the circle where you're going back for that puck. So he'd work a lot with that goaltender, getting those plays and be able to make those breakouts from there. Okay, looking at the white jerseys here again. See a little bit of puck pursuit by 1. And then starts to work his way back, a little bit more speed. But you can see there's a huge gap in between there, but they're fine with that. And again, very aggressive, trying to hold the line. Here you can see Washington is stretched, trying to get above those guys to make their plays, but still coming back. You can see the 5 guys in the screen have tracked back and done a really good job entering into the zone. Okay. So now you can see a lot of speed coming back from Anaheim here, trying to build their speed to the neutral zone. You can see the 1 pursuing, and again, just a real tough situation of getting pucks in. 3 guys versus 4 and 5 trying to get over the lines. It's really difficult sometimes when they're doing it well. Okay, this is the counter. So I think this is what the look that as we watched Anaheim's bringing a lot of players back, coming with a lot of speed. You can even see there's going to be a change here, but now they've got 5 players all filling lanes here, coming with a bunch of speed. And that's tough to defend no matter what it is you're doing. You can see even if it's a quick play, just as long as you're penetrating through here, then you've got support coming on you here with the speed. A little bit of a takedown that happens, but ends up being an opportunity off of it. And that's pretty, but not very often do you get a chance to sit back there and say, hey, you know what we're going to do is bring the 5 guys back and get after them as fast as we possibly can. And I kind of like this too. Another counter look is just Calgary has it. And they have it, they bring it back. They're pretty calm too. They don't bring necessarily the 5 players back with a ton of speed, but you can see the 1 is in the screen. And then as they pursue themselves up, they realize that they're going to try to hold the line. So what happens is if they stretch their forward, they're bringing this defenseman up. They have one. They realize the line of 3 is going to be across here. So they've just have this winger stretch. So now if they bring this guy and if they're off the wall, now they can just have a little bounce play up to this guy, and hopefully he can enter in with a controlled entry. He's going to have to make a quick play, though, because there's a lot of pursuit coming back from one, and they're going to have to be attacking this line with a lot of speed coming in. But just one thing that I thought unique is they came up, just draw that player to them, and then ricochet it off the boards and get themselves in. They just stick it in, but something that I thought that might be able to help us in the future as we possibly play them. So, okay. Lastly, we're going with Edmonton Oilers, Bakersfield Condors. So very, I guess traditionally you'd say with the 1-2-2, but you know, it's been very effective, and I find it very easy to coach. So talking about the pros that it's widely used, it is easiest because we think that almost everybody who's probably come through the door at some point that we coach has done some form or matter of a 1-2-2 through minor hockey, etc. It is an aggressive red line approach, which is good because you're turning over pucks at the red as opposed to maybe the blue. And it's good for 5 players being kind of almost in the closest proximity of each other when you do turn over pucks. And it does conserve energy. It's not a relentless forecheck for sure. Cons, easiest to break. And we'll talk about that, some of the counters that we can do with that. And then sometimes for these breakouts, though, as opposed to the other looks that we've had, if you got 5 guys in the neutral zone, you don't have those other players or defensemen sitting way back like we saw with the 1-3-1. Okay, we're going to start with Bakersfield. So they're the dark blue with the big condor here in the middle. So, but one is getting himself up. You can see passive kind of split and push look, works himself back in. He's not committed. Just holds that middle, trying to have a split and divide. And you can see from here, the second wave, these 2 players are holding that red line. Defensemen have backed off. You can see it's a good look. They're trying to make their plays through, but now the team is stopped and stalled and they don't have any speed here. So it's a good look what they want to accomplish. Okay, we're looking at the orange jersey here now. You can see one is going, just a soft push. And I just wanted to show you this. So now this is their weak side defenseman who's come off here and done a really good job. It's tough to see in this camera here, but there's their player who's pursuing through. They still have a wide lane player here. So this might be a pre-scout for them that if they're on top of the red line, their defenseman is going to pursue and stop this guy. If this guy was below the red line, then this player here, their F3, is going to get over on top of this player. I'll show you the vice versa of this in the next one. So it's up tight. You can see their 3 is in the middle here. And they're going side to side. And again, we're all working. We know what the other team is doing. You can see how patient this other team is here. Henderson with the puck. And now you can see the defenseman now is taking this wide lane and this, right here in the middle. There's the forward who's now stayed above their guy in the middle. And these are all different pre-scouts. They're different things that we can work, different things that you can coach. And like I said, with the 1-2-2, it might be the easiest thing because there's always a basis already of established of people knowing what it is. So, and a good look at this defenseman getting up on the wide lane. So you can see, even though they're getting control, it's not a control entry. And from there, you got to dump the puck in, and you can see already too, the 3 guys are back and starts off with good puck support for that opposition team. Moving to Edmonton. Okay, in the orange jerseys. So one's being a little bit aggressive. Really good look at here back. They've got 2 other players in between, but 4 of the Edmonton players in between. So now you got that good close puck support from there, transitioning going the other way. And you can even see the defenseman starting to jump as well. Okay, pursuit again. Orange jersey. One is going, splitting and pushing, and just being aggressive. Talked about this defenseman being right up here, being aggressive on this player on the wall. He knows that's being here. The other guy's already, his partner is going back, defenseman. You can see in this 2 and 3, they realize the puck has gone by them. They're turning for the breakouts here already. So good look and not allowing that controlled entry. And this is just one of the counter kind of looks as we start to look at Florida. They're in a bit of a change, but they're bringing, you can see 5 players coming off, right off, all the way low, coming back, trying to gain speed here, making their plays through, but a really good job by Edmonton. You can see, look at these 4 players moving and shifting together. Does a really good job as I back this up. You can see coming through, they're moving back with staying above the speed, and they're getting onto the pucks, transitioning from there. Now, something else different talked about it before a little bit with the 1-1-3. If one is in, he's pursuing, splitting and pushing, puck goes back in. So now this can be certain teams we've been with before. You'll have this F2 will now engage and one will replace for him. Or if it's vice versa, the other side, the same thing happens. Just whatever it is you want to coach, as opposed, or some teams have that F1 turn around and he'll continue to pursue and just keep F2 and F3 holding that red line. So here, but he comes off in a change, and there you can see the exchange here. So one is going, continues above, and all of a sudden you see two has gone in. He's replacing back and turn for him. And again, these two guys are doing a great job of holding the line. Turn the puck over, going the other way. Okay, like we talked about before, sorry, a little bit of a tough video, but you can see F3 getting over here when it goes from side, pass over to side, and they start to pursue. If they're looking up through the middle, their forward is getting right over on top of their F3. So this guy could be higher up, whatever they want to coach, as we talked before. But you can see now their defenseman, the weak side guy, is responsible for that wide lane. So his job here, F3, is to stay above, stay above. D is now standing up. D is now shifting and coming back. And you can see 2 and 1 original guys up the ice are now coming back onto the pucks for breakouts. Okay, so just versus kind of an older school, we talk about a D to D hinge play. Come out, come back. Edmonton's doing a good job on top, bringing players back. And now this is what you always said before. I say it always, but it's the 1-2-2 look. The defenseman's pursued up, D to D. Now he goes back to his partner. Now he looks to go to the weak side or try to find some speed through the middle to hit up through the middle. But again, pretty good look by Edmonton in the 1-2-2, staying on top of pucks. This is another counter that I like. Just first of all, there's quick ups. I guess quick ups for everything is always quick transition before teams can set up their neutral zone forecheck is sometimes a key. And then here, what I like, they try to make their quick up play. Doesn't work out. Edmonton's doing a good job. Now they get it. D to D. Skate. And the one thing is tricky is that if a defenseman takes this puck all the way back, then makes your D to D play, you bring F1 all the way up the ice. So now you create this open seam here that allows you to make plays across the ice. So I think Winnipeg does a pretty good job of this. And then you have a controlled entry where they come in, even though Edmonton's coming back, now all of a sudden you've backed off their defense when you're coming in, you got some time and space into the O zone. Here's another better look at this, and I like this as well. You can see they're looking up the middle, not much is there. Takes it back, pretty controlled. So now you can see Edmonton is set up, the D to D play. Now they skate. So they brought this guy, this F1, all the way down the top of the circles. Now continuing up, opening up that lane. And this is what I find the best thing versus the 1-2-2 is just getting 3 above. So now you can see they make the seam play across. All of a sudden, this is the look you want to create where you're getting above their 3 players and trying to create a 3-on-2 going this way, you can see, and trying to attack now with speed. They get going, controlled entry, creating an outnumbered situation already. Edmonton's still coming back with good numbers. So you can see they've got 5 guys back in the screen, but it's a good look for Winnipeg getting an almost opportunity. So just in kind of a recap, we saw with the 1-1-3 first. I said I learned some things from that, just rewatching, going through all these clips and watching it and seeing the aggression of F1, and I like the look of it, especially being so safe with those 3 players at the back. And then we go to LA and Ontario with that 1-3-1. It's effective. It's been around for a long time. It's really good defensively. Tough to enter in with control, that's for sure. And then you've got your standard 1-2-2, which is still very, I think it's easiest to coach. It's the easiest maybe to alter, but it's really good for maybe minor hockey or lesser hockey too, where you don't have to worry about it as much. And it's kind of something you can instill and maybe not have to touch on it too much more. But so hopefully that is good for everyone. It wasn't real in-depth focus, but the best we could do while we're on the road here. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to come and watch. Just wanted to say a big thank you to Ian Beckenstein. He's my video coordinator, and he did a great job here helping me out with these clips.
Awesome, Trent. Thanks so much. A ton of great information there. We'll be back in the next week or so to answer the questions that coaches watching may have. So thanks again, everybody, for joining. Thanks, Trent, and we'll see you soon.